Georgia and Alabama will do battle for it all on Saturday in Atlanta, Georgia, the SEC championship at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Guys, I don't have to hype this game up. The college football playoff implications, Kirby Smart against Nick Saban, the two big bad beasts in the SEC, right? Where it's funny how the more things change, the more they stay the same. I was one, admittedly, that thought LSU would get back to this game. I thought LSU-Georgia was going to be the showdown, but credit to Alabama and Nick Saban, what they did this season. As we look at this game, guys, my preview and prediction for what's going to take place in Atlanta, you first start with Alabama's impeccable history in Atlanta, Georgia. Guys, they've never lost in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And I know the Benz hasn't been around for a while, but you think about some of the memorable games against Georgia, both in the SEC championship, the college football playoff, the national championship, if you will. You know, I think our good friend Chris Marler yesterday made some great points on if you get Georgia in a situation late in that game, of course, guys, dogs the favorite. You get them in a situation late in that game where the game is tied or Bama's ahead. There's some demons still in that building, I think, for Georgia fans that are going to pop up in their head. But it is interesting nonetheless. I don't think a lot of those storylines, a lot of those trends, a lot of those records matter all that much coming into a game like this. But, I mean, I think the stat was something like Alabama hasn't lost in the city of Atlanta in like 100 years. I mean, something crazy. So does that really matter on Saturday? Not necessarily, but I do think it's interesting when you think about the chess match and the mental battle of this game. You know, it's Georgia, I think, that's got more to deal with from the mental side, because while Georgia has become the beast of college football, there's some not so great memories against the Crimson Tide in that building specifically. Guys, you look at this game, I think the question everyone's been asking all week, can Georgia's defense, can they slow down Jalen Milroe? Can they limit the big playability? There's nothing more demoralizing for a defense than when a quarterback is able to drop back, especially on third down, make a play with his legs, beat a pass rush, and get the first down, right? Georgia's done a pretty good job this year getting after the quarterback. Alabama, while they've done a much better job of late, I think they've only allowed 4 sacks in the month of November. They have not done a good job this year of protecting the quarterback. I think Jalen Milroe has bailed out that offensive line a lot of late with the plays that he's made with his legs. If Georgia is not able to corral him, and it's much easier said than done, right? Because the second Jalen Milroe steps foot on that field, he is the best athlete on that field. If this Georgia defense is not able to corral him, whether that's with a spy, whether that's great discipline off the edge to keep him in the pocket, you let 4 get outside that pocket, all bets are off. It opens up things in the passing game, downfield, guys can get open. Either the longer he's able to stall. I'm very curious to see how Kirby Smart and company attack Jalen Milroe. What do they do to make him uncomfortable? Are they able to keep him in the pocket and at least limit it? Because Jalen Milroe, a great athlete, he's going to get his. He's going to make big plays, but you've got to limit those explosive plays and do everything you can to make him beat you from the pocket. Also, guys, for Alabama, again, it's about keeping Milroe in his comfort zone. If he's not able to run, what's the offensive game plan on the Bama side from Tommy Rees? I think Alabama lately has done a really, really good job of catering this offense to his strengths. I think early on they were asking him to do way too much, multiple reads in the field, scan the entire field. They'd simplified that down, right? What the chess match in a game like this, these two great coaching staffs, these two great teams, the chess match. What does Alabama do? Are they able to lean on the running game more than maybe other times earlier this season, right? But it's interesting, guys, and it shows where we are, I think, in college football, that neither one of these teams, and the irony of this is that Bama talked about all preseason playing bully ball. We're getting back to bully ball. But, guys, this is the modern day and age of college ball. You're going to throw the football downfield, right? I mean, Alabama certainly has used the deep ball. They love throwing the deep ball with Jalen Milroe. I don't know that you look at either team in this game and say there's going to be this hard-nosed running game. One of these two teams is going to have a back that carries it 35 or 40 times or what have you. Jace McClellan obviously has done a really good job for Alabama at the running back position, giving them a competent running game. But it's about not having to ask Jalen Milroe to do more than he's comfortable with. Tommy Rees done a really good job with that of late. Going to be interesting to see, though, if that is the case yet again in this ball game. Speaking of pass rush, speaking of line of scrimmage, guys, is the pass rush of Alabama able to get after Carson Beck? Georgia has done a phenomenal job at protecting QB1 this season. But again, guys, the fun thing about this game, neither side has seen a defense like the one they're playing this weekend. Carson Beck, I believe, only sacked 10 times this year. We've all seen the fantastic season he's had kind of quietly also. And he's got a great array of weapons to throw to. Of course, Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers. They didn't play last week against Georgia Tech. I don't think that much matters. I don't think that matters in this game. I think those guys are going to play. There's nothing that's going to hold out Georgia's best playmakers in this game. Is the Alabama pass rush, Dallas Turner, those guys, are they able to get after Carson Beck? Because, again, this is by far the biggest game of Carson Beck's career. And sometimes weird things can happen in a game like this when the nerves get rolling. And the best way to do that, get pressure after the quarterback, see if Carson Beck maybe does some things that are uncharacteristic to what we've seen this season. Guys, I'm mentioning all these great matchups, man. Again, it's good on good. It's elite on elite. The matchups on the outside, Georgia's wide receivers against that Alabama secondary, both these secondaries have been so good this year. I do think Georgia's got the more deep and talented wide receiver room. Very fun to watch. What can Ladd McConkey, Marcus Rosemy, by the way, I messed that up last time. Marcus Rosemy, Jack Saint, Brock Bowers also. Dylan Bell, what are those guys able to do on the outside for Georgia? And again, that great Alabama secondary. I think we're going to see a lot of big plays in this game. I think you're going to see a lot of offense in this ball game, back and forth. These two teams trading blows. That matchup's going to be a lot of fun on the outside between the Georgia receivers, the Bama secondary. Guys, I moved to this when you talk about this game. I saw a lot of pushback and a lot of resistance when we dropped our position unit comparison for these two teams, and that I gave Georgia the nod when it comes to coaching. I thought it was pretty well understood that at this point, Kirby Smart right now, Nick Saban's the GOAT, but right now, Kirby Smart's the best coach in college football, guys. Right now. I'm not saying he's the GOAT long-term or he's done more than Nick Saban. But right now, today, Kirby Smart is the best coach in college football. Now, if that's the case, and we're going to continue to say that that's true, you got to win on the field, right? You got to win on the field. And I tell you this, guys, if Nick Saban is able to take down Georgia after the way this season started early on, this is his greatest coaching job to date. I mean, really, truly, when you think about the adversity this team was facing early in the year, did not know what they were going to do at the quarterback position after the Texas and then USF games. Most folks, I think, guys, thought that Alabama may be going 7-5, 8-4, and instead, if they're able to take down Georgia, take down the beast of the East, what that would mean for the coaching job that Nick Saban's done this year. But I think if Georgia wins, I think it solidifies that Kirby Smart is indeed the best coach in college football right now. Again, I would say that right now after winning back-to-back national titles, it would only reaffirm that is the case. Guys, again, the over-under in Vegas of 54.5, I think that's the total right now. It may have gone up. This has the feelings of a higher scoring affair for sure. I mean, when you talk about all the great athletes that are going to be on the field for both Georgia and Alabama, it's hard to see this game not going up into the 30s, if you will. I don't see a defensive slugfest. I do think you're going to see both offenses have their way. It's going to be about which defense can make that big play. We also mentioned, guys, earlier on the college football playoff implications that are on the line. Guys, Georgia wins, they're in, no duh. Alabama is fighting for their postseason lives, their playoff lives. And a great question, too, guys, we could debate next week or whenever, if it does happen. Even if Georgia loses, are they still in? You think about it, guys. I saw this post on social media, and I was like, they've got a good point. There's a better chance that Georgia stays in, even if they lose, then there is a chance that Alabama makes the playoff if they win. If all things stay consistent and how far Bama has to go to get in. But either way, Bama has to win this one to have a chance. Not that this game needs any more, any more juice to it, any more excitement, any more anticipation. And oh, by the way, guys, it's the last SEC championship game as we know it. No more East and West, no more divisions. This is the last SEC title game as we know it. So with that being said, guys, my prediction in this game. Again, I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, a back-and-forth affair. I think it's which offense, which team flinches first. I do think you're going to see Georgia have answers for Jalen Milroe. I think it's going to be tough sled. I think you're going to see Carson Beck make some mistakes, right? I don't think he's seen a pass rush like this year. I don't think he's seen a defense like this year. Georgia cannot afford to get off to the slow starts that have haunted them all season. Nick Saban and Alabama are too good. They're too good to start slow and overcome that like you have all season long. So Georgia's got to come out of the gate. They've got to come out of the gate strong. I think they will. I think this is a classic back and forth offensive shootout. I think you're going to see great playmakers on display in this one. I think Brock Bowers, his matchup with the Bama defense, I think that's one that makes a massive difference. And guys, admittedly, it's just hard for me to pick against Georgia until we see the back-to-back national champions lose. 29 straight wins, I believe it is, for the Dogs. And so with that being said, I am going Georgia in this game. Lock me in. I've got Dogs 31, Alabama 28. I think Georgia does just enough. I think it'll be Alabama that flinches on the biggest stage. And I think Georgia. I think for Kirby Smart and company, for the Georgia fans, for the Georgia program, this game is still personal. I think this game against Alabama, this still means a lot. Even after winning back-to-back national titles, there's still going to be that chip on the shoulder. There's still going to be that edge that, hey, we've got something to prove, and there's nobody better in college football at motivating his football team in situations like that than Kirby Smart. So, again, for those reasons, I've got the Dogs winning the SEC title, taking down Alabama by a final score of 31-28 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.